Good day, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Fayette Focus. Harry Wright with you today. My guest from Big Brothers Big Sisters. I have two. First off, Bob Neal. Bob, how are you?
I'm fine, Harry. How are you doing?
We're doing great. And we also have Brenda Campbell with us. How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you. Brenda, we know what Bob's role is in Big Brothers Big Sisters. What's your role?
My role is I am the case manager for both Fayette and Highland counties. I enroll children. I enroll adult volunteers and hopefully get matches made between the two. We have children on a waiting list in Fayette County. We have 16 children between the ages of 7 and 17. And those kids are all looking for somebody to be, a big part of their life, to mentor them. And as they're on a waiting list, that means they don't have a match. So I'm kind of the fill in the gap person. We do agency-wide activities. We do county-based things, like I would call, one of my littles and say, hey, I'm coming up. Can I pick you up? Can we go window shopping?
Watch movies at the library.
Go to the library. Go to the park if the weather's good. Like this summer, that'll be a bigger activity where we can get them to do things outside. I've taken kids to the mall that have never been to the mall. The Pepperidge Farm Store is a huge hit at the mall because of goldfish.
Well, the Pepperidge Farm Store is a huge hit with me at the mall, too, because of just, everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing bad at a Pepperidge Farm Store now.
That's right. One little that he knows when he gets in my car to go somewhere, there's a bag of goldfish in there, because many times I pick him up right after school. Kids are starved after school, so he's got goldfish to munch on while we get to the place that we're going.
So you're the kind of person, if someone has a little that needs a big or wants to be a big, you're the person they contact.
Absolutely. They can make an inquiry either over the computer on our website. They may call the office where they've heard about us from somebody else.
We're a multi-county agency. You can call the 800 number. It's 800-888-6335. Offices in Chillicothe, but we operate in Fayette, Highland, Pickaway, Ross, and Pike County. And Brenda holds down the fort, as she mentioned, in Highland and Fayette for us here.
So you have 16 youngsters right now that need a big.
Right. That's absolutely right.
What are you looking for in a big brother or a big sister?
We're looking for an adult that's got some time, maybe a couple hours every couple weeks, to step in a kid's life who's got an adult that's missing for whatever reason. It could be many reasons. An adult who has, got a desire to make somebody's life a little better, that just wants to, share, volunteer, give a kid some time.
It's a perfect job, if you will, for a empty nester.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We get quite a few volunteers. A lot of our bigs are people that are retired or close to retiring. Their kids have left. They, too much time on their hands. They want something to fill in and to do something that's going to make a kid's life a little bit better.
Now, I understand, Bob, that when a little has a big, their scores improve in school, and their overall life is just a better.
It is. There's those academic aspects to it. There's also the social aspects to it. Some of the skills. It's really about forming relationships. That's what Big Brothers and Big Sisters is all about. And kids that have a role model, a relationship in their life, do better in school. They stay out of trouble. They avoid the risky behavior, to use the psycho speak, if you will.
Right.
But they stay out of trouble. They avoid the juvenile justice system. So the kids need a role model in their life. There's more and more you learn about brain research. Having a relationship in your life helps your brain form, where you can regulate yourself, because they're all the stuff they're talking about, brain science, and kids these days, that's why they're out of control. The brains just aren't formed.
Well, the serotonin levels, your serotonin levels are higher.
Stuff.
Yeah, the feel good stuff is higher when you have somebody in your life that cares about you. And when you have somebody and you're happier because your serotonin levels are higher, and that's what makes us happy. And
So the science and the research backs this up. And what is common sense, really? If you have an adult role model in your life. Brenda and I are lucky, and I think we're rare. We both came from families, mom and dad never divorced. And
me too.
Still together. But that's rare. That's rare. So, but if you think about, divorce is common now. When I was thinking about, when I first heard about Big Brothers and Big Sisters back in the 70s, it was, I thought, oh, it's for kids without a dad. But now, divorce is common. So there might be people thinking, well, golly, I grew up without a dad. It's not that big a deal. But think about it. You probably had a role model. There's probably an uncle,
grandpa, neighbor,
somewhere.
something.
Well, there's kids, and Brenda sees them in her travels throughout the rural part of the county, and as well as in the city, too, don't get me wrong, that don't have a role model. Maybe mom grew up here, moved away after high school, got married, had kids. 20 years later, she's divorced, moves back home. Maybe mom's still around, but, there's the son with no friends and no uncle and no grandpa. There are kids like that, and that's the kind of adversity that kids enrolled in our program are facing. And if you can be that adult role model, then that's the kind of volunteer we're looking for.
And people say I'm just one person. What kind of a difference? What kind of a change can I make in the world? One person can make a huge change in a child's life.
Absolutely. We have children that, as Bob said, are not within a nuclear family anymore. We have children that may not be with mom or dad. They could be with grandma, an aunt, could be in foster care. So they have had so many upheavals in their short lives that, they don't trust people. They, don't really know where they might lay their head the next night. I do have a couple littles that are, in foster care. And it's truly amazing in my role as their caseworker that when I pick them up for some reason, they are so happy to see me because I'm a safe face. I'm a person that is always in a positive light to them. They don't have to worry how we're going to treat them because I tend to treat the kids like I would treat my own children or my own grandkids because I know they especially need that little bit of extra
consistency.
They need consistency.
Yeah.
They need someone that, is going to set the example of the way we think things should be for them.
Exactly, because if you really don't have anybody pushing you, saying, I expect you to do better in school, I expect you to behave yourself in school. If you don't have that expectation coming, then you really don't care yourself what you're doing. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of the littles do a lot better in school when they have a big, because now they've got somebody that they don't want to disappoint. They got somebody that they want to try to impress. And they got somebody they want to feel happy about when they say, look, I got an A on my math test.
Yeah, that's one of the things. They know that we're going to call and check up on them. We call mom, and if they're there, we'll talk to them. We try to have some contact with them every month. It may only be a phone call this month, but now that school's getting out, then we're going to plan some extra activities, outside of what we could do just within a couple hours in the evening. So, we're hoping to get around and hit, there's quite a few state parks in the area, between Ross County, Highland County, Fayette County, to do some things where we get them outside, and get outside and get fresh air and some exercise. And plus some really neat fun outings. One of the outings we do in the summers, we'll take them to a paintball game. And I like the Paints Stadium myself because it's so close. I mean, you can almost hear the whoosh of the ball when it goes by.
Right.
But that's a really nice outing because the Paints treat us very well.
Now, the people out there, you don't have to spend money on the kids all the time. A lot of the things you do, you can go to the park, play, you can go to Deer Creek and walk around, and they want your time. It's not necessarily what you do with them, it's the fact that you do it with them. Right. But now, when we talk about Big Brothers and Big Sisters as a whole, finances are an important part, and you just had a really successful fundraiser.
We did, and Harry, you and the iHeart crew were a part of that. We appreciate your bowling, and we thank everyone at Leella Lanes, hosts for 2 events. But really, this was the Walmart Distribution Center's event. Now, iHeart had a team there. We also had a team from Kohl's. Kohl's, the Chillicothe store, was one of our sponsors. They had a team at every single one of the bowling events at each of the locations anyway. But for Fayette County, this year, Bowl for Kids' Sake was really the Walmart Distribution Center event. And I want to thank Freddie Joyner and Shelley Flint that were our liaisons with the agency, and I got everybody there. The Walmart basically paid for half of the entry fee for each of their employees. So that's a generous gesture that we appreciate at Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And I wanted to thank Shelley Flint and Freddie Joyner personally. Shelley asked me which day did better. We do 2 shifts because of the way their shifts line up on the week,
Right.
So some are available on Sunday. Others that are working on Sunday, we make a day on Wednesday for them. So Freddie was in charge of the Sunday shift, and Shelley was in charge of the Wednesday shift. And Shelley asked me which did better, and I didn't answer because it was really 50-50. It was neck and neck. And Shelley wouldn't have liked my answer, but it was just by a couple dollars. So
I got
didn't.
you.
So, but Shelley and Freddie, thank you very much, and thank you to all the bowlers there. So the numbers that came in just the Fayette County events that we had, we raised $7,737 was the total for that event, which is a lot more than last year. Big increase from last year. $4,800. So $7,737 was our 2015 income for those events. I want to thank everybody that supported Bowl for Kids' Sake.
And I want to thank Ed Helt for the great competition, although he fell short. I beat Ed both games. Last year I beat him 1 game and ended up beating him overall, and he told me that it would never happen again. Well, this year I beat him both games. And folks, if you want to see Ed Helt with a beard, you show up for Bowl for Kids' Sake next year, get you a team and bowl, because he challenged me right before we bowled Sunday that if he won, I had to shave for the event, and if I won, he had to grow a beard. Well,
and you're still bearded, we see here.
Yes, and Ed will be sporting a beard because I bowled 2 great games, which I hardly ever do, but I did beat Ed, and I'm going to rub it in for the entire year.
We had our eye on the scoreboard for that one, so
that was kind of interesting.
We weren't rooting; we were just interested.
But that's what makes it fun. I mean, there was the scores don't really matter, if you will, but when you challenge one of your teammates, and we had a ball.
Yes, you guys were quite rowdy.
We were rowdy. I think we were infectious because once the people around us saw that, hey, you can whoop and holler and have a good time, they too jumped in because that's what it's all about, is having fun, and it's for a fantastic cause. There is nothing better than to making a difference in a child's life. I'm a member of the Shrine, and one of the reasons why I'm a member of the Shrine is the statutes outside the national headquarters has a Shriner carrying a pair of crutches in one hand and having a child on his shoulder, and down below it says, "No man stands as tall when he stoops to help a child."
I know that slogan,
and
it's very powerful.
It is powerful, but that is the truth. No human being can do anything better than to take a child and help be their friend and help guide them and give them the advice. We got some people out here that are 60, 70 years old that have wonderful wisdom and insight to things that children of their teenage years and younger can gain from that. And we just need you to get a hold of Brenda and say, I want to be a big. How do they do that, Brenda?
Call
the office. Our number at the office is 740-773-2447. They will pass you along to me. If I'm not there, they'll get me the message, or our 800 number is 800-888-6335, and that'll put the works in motion.
Now, if you don't bowl, but you like to chase the little white ball around on the golf course,
we have an event for you too.
That's coming up.
It's Golf for Kids' Sake. That is June 27th at the Chillicothe JC's golf course, and that is registration. We just put the registration forms out. If any of you bowled, see, I haven't
He's
shifted
switching
gears yet.
It's played with the ball too, so you're all right.
If any of you golfed last year, you might have got a letter in the mail or maybe an email. Look for that. We have a special website for that, actually, for the golf. It's bobneal.com. Do you know how to spell my last name?
Neal.
There you go, bobneal.com. is the site for the golf. You can we've got the poster and the information and an online sign-up form. So if you'd like to participate, we'd love to have you in Chillicothe on Saturday, June 27th for the golf.
There you go. June 27th is the day you can golf for kids' sake. And
can I thank a couple more sponsors from
you
our
can-
Bowl for
you
Kids'
can
sake?
thank what- yes, sir.
Because we do get support in Fayette County, and we do have the 3 matches here, and as well as the waiting list. So there is a lot of our agency needs support, and the businesses that supported us at Bowl for Kids' Sake this year, our lane sponsors were M&M Fasteners, Parrish Trucks and Equipment, Valero, Wilbur Price Insurance Group, the Walmart store, as well as the Walmart Distribution Center, and Brenda, I think, spent. She was talking about window shopping. She spent the day window shopping with Door Prices, AutoZone, Easy Oil Change Company, Dairy Queen, O'Reilly. All the auto parts stores are very generous. They gave nice packages. Amore Pizza, that's for pizzeria. That's Ron at the
Good
bowling
stuff.
alley thing.
Yeah,
It
it's
is
good
good.
pizza.
stuff.
It is good. I noticed we all had some the day of the event there.
Yes.
Plus Ace Hardware, Advance Auto, Street Side 62, The Willow, Merchants Bank, Smart Style, McClish's Plants Plus, and JD Equipment. All were our door prize sponsors. So we appreciate everybody coming together and making it a fun event. It's hard. It's hard not to have fun bowling. Isn't
You
that
know
right,
it,
Gary?
and well, especially when you're doing it for a great cause and with some great people. And I have said for many, many years since I've been in radio, you can always tell a great community event by the sponsorship that it gets, and the support from the community lets you know what events are great and what's not. And that's a great list of people that you had there on that list.
We are very grateful for the support of the entire community. We receive funding from the United Way of Fayette County. We receive funding from the Adam Board. So all those community organizations recognize the work that Brenda and her fellow caseworkers do with the littles and the bigs. We call them big brothers and little brothers and big sisters, little sisters. We appreciate those organizations' support, and we appreciate your support, and of course everyone listening and watching.
All right, well, Brenda, keep on doing that good work for us, and we'll see maybe if we can't get 16 people to take on those littles.
Okay. And just one last comment is Bob and I, together separately, are available to speak to any group that'll have us. A few weeks ago, we spoke with Good Hope Lions and the Kiwanis Club. So, we're starting to get that in gear. So if anybody's interested in having a speaker, we'll be more than happy to help you out.
My guest today on Fayette Focus, and I thank them greatly for taking time out of their busy day. From Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Central Ohio, South Central Ohio, we've got Bob Neal and Brenda Campbell. Thank you so much for coming in. Good day, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Fayette Focus. Harry Wright with you today. My guest from the Master Gardeners, I have Deborah Roby. Debbie, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, Randy.
Wonderful. And Don Kramer. Don, how are you?
Fine.
Wonderful. Now we're here today to talk about something that's kind of interesting called Sponsor a Pot. Tell us about it.
Sponsor a Pot is the really main project of the Master Gardener Volunteers. It is a beautification project for the downtown of Washington Courthouse. During the summer season, the pots go out on the corners. Sometimes
Somewhere around Memorial Day.
Yes,
Right.
around Memorial Day, through the summer season till maybe late September, early October. It depends on the weather.
Now, the volunteers, do you water the pots? Do you have sponsors that say, I'll take care of this one, and another sponsor says, I'll take care of this one?
That's where the sponsor word comes in, yes. The Master Gardeners do the selecting of the plants and the planting of the plants. And we are very lucky to have cooperation from the city of Washington Courthouse. And they do most of the watering, although Don over
Sometimes.
here does sometimes.
Well, I'm sure you go down the street and you go, hey, that plant needs a little water. And he
Yes.
pulls right over and he's got a can of water in his car. And
That would be done.
that's done, yes. So this is a wonderful program that really does make our city look beautiful because all those street corners now are going to have beautiful flowers.
Well, we hope. That's the plan.
So now if someone, Don, if someone says, yes, I want to sponsor a pot or I want to be a part of this, how do they get a hold of you?
contact the extension office, 335-1150, I believe.
Yep.
And it's $75 to sponsor a pot. And you can put anything. We make a small plaque to put in each pot. Each one can say whatever you want, dedicated in memory of somebody or compliments of WCHO or things like that. Anything you want to say on there within reason, of course.
Exactly.
And we have 32, I believe, 32 pots that we have all around town.
Now, how many years have you done this?
Well, let's see. I think we started, Tree Committee kind of
Right.
more or less got started with it. We did Tree City, USA, the Central Ohio region, and we had 4 pots that we decorated for the event. And then we took them and put them on Court Street and Fayette Street. We put them out there that corner that first year. And that was, I think, 2002 or 4, along in there somewhere.
So it has grown to 32 pots over the years.
Yes, and we buy different. We have a 36-inch pot. We have 6 of those, and the rest are all 24-inch pots. And this year we bought 3 more to kind of a trial thing to see some different plants. You always have to experiment, so it's kind of a some way to experiment and find out, does this really work on the street? Because a lot of plants do not work because we don't have enough water,
Well, that was my next question was, there has to be certain plants that'll handle it better because
Yes.
you got the sidewalk giving off heat from the sun, you got the pavement giving off heat from the sun. It's got to be kind of warm there,
Yes.
and a plant will absorb a lot of water in those things. And so it's got to be, you got to kind of have a really hardy plant, don't you?
Yes, you do, and we use Soil Moist. It's a granular polymer type product, and everybody always says, well, that OSU says that doesn't really work that well, but we found it's kind of the saving particle that we put in, and it holds moisture and it keeps kind of evens out the in-between times that we water.
It holds it and then it releases it
Yes,
so that the
releases
plants can
it
get
back.
that drink when they in between the waterings. Because that's one thing I always wondered about those. That has got to be very warm on a plant.
It's a brutal environment, and you just have to, some things that some people want to pick, that won't work at all because they just dry up in short order. So we pick things that hold pretty good.
If I might, Harry, I did call you Randy a while ago.
That's
I
fine.
know you're not Randy.
I've
you're
been
Harry.
called worse by family members. That's okay.
I know you're Harry. One thing I might mention is that Don Creamer here and Brenda Cottle have been the co-chairman of this Sponsor Pot project for several years now. And I think they do an excellent job of picking out the plants. We have a lot of compliments about what the downtown looks like, and it's in large part to those big pots. And they do pick out things that have to be obviously able to handle a lot of heat and exhaust and neglect sometimes, although we do try to water.
And they need to be showy too. You can't have little teeny weeny flowers. They have to be pretty showy and show
Delicate
up.
things.
Well, I've known
just
that
don't
they
hold
show
up.
up really nice, and they're really nice to look at when you're at a stoplight.
Well, and that's what you want, is something that's tall enough and bright enough to show up. What's the old motto about? You want a thriller. You want something big that's impressive. You want
The filler,
which
which fills in all around the other stuff,
and you want
a spiller.
a spiller. That's
Something
the
goes
word.
over the edge,
Something
comes
that
down.
hangs down. You
Makes
don't
it-
want the same thing in the pot. That's kind of monotonous. So they do a wonderful job of it.
So the thrillers, the fillers, and the spillers. Now your fillers are going to be more of your greenery that you put in that'll spread out into an empty area and fill it up, and then a spiller is maybe like a viney kind of thing that hangs down, and that
Very
covers
good.
it covers the pot. And then your thriller is one that has a flower on it that you look at and you go, wow.
It's an eye-catching plant, right? He's got the idea.
Yes, he does.
I've interviewed Don a couple of times here in my career, and
Well, you
so
need to-
some things stick,
That's
they
good.
really do.
That's good.
Well, he's-
It's an
Now that we've
education.
got talking about plants and everything, of course, today being the 15th, we are now past the freeze date. So you can pretty much, in your garden, you can pretty much go crazy now, can't you?
Yes, you can. Although, as I've always told people, I do remember one year, 28th of May, having a hard freeze. So if, you got to pay attention to the weather and get your blankets and take them out there and cover things up, because they will freeze. You can't stop that.
Well, a plant is mostly water.
Yes,
And
and right away.
You got it. If you get a freeze, and your
You're done.
plant's going to be a plant popsicle.
Yes.
That's
And
right.
tomato popsicles are probably pretty
No.
good if you make them with tomatoes.
And
But
peppers.
tomato plants aren't.
Peppers are the same way.
No, peppers and tomatoes
That's
are
way too touchy.
they're delicate. Now, I put out tomato plants this week, just a few days ago. My husband and I put out tomato plants because we looked at the forecast, and it doesn't look like any time from now on it's going to be especially cold.
It should be okay.
It should be okay, but you do have to watch. You don't have to worry about perennials, the ones that come back every year, because they're pretty hardy.
Right.
But delicate annuals, like impatience and
Ooh, impatience.
yeah,
Yes. Ooh.
they're touchy. They are touchy, and they would not hold up in those downtown pots.
No.
at
Too
all.
hot.
Way too
It's
hot.
way
for
too
them.
hot and windy.
Well, that's something I guess when you're looking at it, and probably it's just the years of experience of putting those plants in those pots. You said, okay, this really worked, but this didn't.
And that's why we kind of experiment once in a while. We'd stick something in, and then, oh dear, that didn't work at all. So next time we don't try that anymore, because and you're kind of limited. So that's what you have to do.
That's right. I mean, I imagine there's probably just a few species
Right.
of plants that will handle that kind of heat.
Right.
Maybe a desert cactus or something like that might be something that we could look at in the future. But folks, if you have a business or you personally want to sponsor a pot, it's $75,
Right.
and you
Which
can.
doesn't really cover all the cost.
Mm-hmm.
That is quite a savings. And if you think about it, any business, doesn't have to be some business on Court Street, it can be any Fayette County business, any individuals who just are community minded and like to see the downtown look pretty can sponsor one of these pots. They don't have to water, they don't have to do the weeding, they don't have to do the deadheading.
Right.
But all summer long, for the whole growing season, anybody that's walking downtown can see the plaque
Right.
with their business name or individual name, if that's important to them.
So if you've had a child this year, and you
Yes.
want to honor the birth of a child,
Correct.
you can get the
Yes.
flowers, put it in, and put
You
on there.
can-
This is in honor of Bill
You
Smith's birthday.
Absolutely, you can do this in honor of somebody,
In
in
memory.
memory of somebody, to highlight an event.
And that number again to call is 740-335-1150.
Correct. That's the extension office.
That's the extension
And I want to point out that this is kind of a conglomeration of a lot of different people working. We get the plants at McLeish's, and we planted them last night, yesterday evening, and they take care of them for a week, 10 days, until we get them put out on the street. And I borrow the box truck from the city schools to get them and put them out on the street, because they have a lift on it.
Right.
And then the city service department, they come around and water them at least twice a week. And master gardeners will go and prune and do whatever else we have to do. And it's a whole bunch of people,
I'm glad
plus the
you-
community.
I'm glad you mentioned that. It
Yeah.
is very much a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Aren't those the great things? Is when the whole community
Yes.
comes together. That's the things that
Yes.
always succeed.
Well, I think that's the beauty, especially in a small town, small
Right.
county like ours.
Because
is
we
that
couldn't do it
we
alone.
could
There's
not
no
do it
way
by
on
ourselves.
earth.
Well,
I
Debbie,
just-
we've always been convinced that we live in a wonderful place
Well,
here
we
in
do.
Fayette County.
We
right.
do.
And it is
You're
a great
talking
place.
to
with,
two natives here.
me
and
too.
we-
I'm born right here in
Okay.
Washington
All right.
Courthouse. So
We think it's a good place.
we do. It is. My guest today on Fayette Focus from the Master Gardeners, we've had Debbie Roby and Don Kramer. Folks, thank you so much for stopping in.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.